The wind blew across the broken stones of the old alien city. Everything was silent. The buildings were half buried under dust, metal scraps, and rusted machines. No one came here anymore. It was a place forgotten by time. In the middle of this dead zone, there was a deep, round hole, a filthy old well. Inside the well, at the very bottom, an alien woman lay still. Her silver hair was tangled. Her skin was bruised and dirty. Her arms shook. Her legs were too weak to move. She was cold, hungry, and scared. Her name was Alira. She had once lived in a bright city full of music and science, but now she was nothing. Her people had thrown her away, not because she broke the law, but because she knew too much. They told her she was a traitor. They said she had spoken to the enemy. The enemy was the humans, but she hadn't done anything wrong. All she had done was help a lost human child find his family again. One small act of kindness, and her people turned against her. They dragged her to this ruined city. They tied her hands and pushed her into the well. No trial, no words, no goodbye, just darkness, and the sound of her body hitting the mud. At first, she screamed. Her voice echoed up and up, but no one listened. Then she cried, but tears only brought more dirt to her face. Now, she only whispered, "Please, not like this." The walls of the well were slimy and broken. Old metal pipes stuck out like sharp teeth. Bits of ancient tech blinked weak blue lights, but nothing worked anymore. Even the bugs had left this place. Alira pulled her knees to her chest. She didn't know how many days had passed. Maybe 2, maybe 4. Her skin was dry, her throat like fire. Her heart beat slower every hour. She didn't want to die, but hope had left her. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Again, please. Someone, anyone." Far above, where the light barely touched the edge of the well, a soft crunch of boots hit the dirt. A human walking carefully among the ruins stopped near the hole. His name was Cole. He was a scavenger. He searched the dead cities for old tech and spare parts. He didn't care about the aliens. He didn't even care about the war. He just wanted to survive. But today, something felt wrong. He had heard something, a voice, maybe, or a soft cry. He moved closer to the hole and looked down. At first, he saw nothing, just darkness and filth. Then a flicker silver hair, pale blue skin, a weak glow from her tribal markings. He froze. "Hello," he called, his voice unsure. He expected nothing, but a soft whisper came back. "Please, don't leave." Cole stepped back, heart racing, an alien, alive. In there, he looked around. No one else was here. He didn't know what to do, but something in her voice. It wasn't a trap. It wasn't a soldier or a spy. It was someone begging to live. He dropped his bag and took out a long cable. He tied it to a cracked engine nearby. Then slowly, carefully, he climbed down. The air grew colder the deeper he went. The smell made him gag. When he reached the bottom, he saw her up close. She looked like death itself. Her hands shook as she tried to sit up, but her eyes, those glowing, tired eyes, looked at him like he was a miracle. "You're human," she whispered. Cole nodded. "Yeah," he said softly, "and I think you need help." She tried to speak, but only coughed. Cole pulled out a water pouch and held it to her lips. She drank like someone who hadn't seen water in days. Tears fell from her eyes, mixed with dirt and blood. "You came," she said in a broken voice. "I thought no one would ever come." Cole looked around the darkness. This place was death, but this woman wasn't gone yet. He reached out his hand. "Let's get you out of this hole," he said. "And then we'll figure out the rest." Above them, a cold wind blew again, but inside the well, something warm had begun to rise. Not fire, not heat, but hope. Cole had never planned to save anyone. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man with old boots, a patched jacket, and a mind full of regrets. Most days, he walked through ruins, picked through metal piles, and stayed quiet. But today was different. He stood near the edge of the broken well. Breathing hard, his gloves were torn, his arms scratched from climbing back up. But the alien woman, she was safe now, lying on the ground, weak but alive. She looked up at him again. Her lips trembled, her voice soft. "You didn't leave me." Cole didn't know what to say. He scratched his beard and looked away. "No one should die like that," he muttered, "not even an alien." She tried to sit up, but her body failed. So he knelt beside her. "I got a shelter not far," he said. "You won't last long out here." She blinked slowly. Her vision was blurry. But her heart felt something strange trust. He could have left her, robbed her, or used her as bait. But he hadn't. Cole picked her up, slowly and carefully. She was lighter than he expected. Too thin, too cold, too silent. He moved fast through the ruins. The sky above was gray with dust and smoke. Every step he took made old metal groan under his boots. But he didn't stop. They reached a hidden entrance. It was behind an old cargo truck, buried in vines. Cole pressed his hand to a scanner, and the door slid open. Inside, the air was warmer. Old lights flickered to life, revealing a small underground space, a bed made of scrap cloth, a heater humming in the corner, and shelves filled with tools, wires, and food packs. Cole placed her gently on the bed. He wrapped a warm cloth around her shoulders, then handed her a food bar and a bottle of clean water. She looked at the food, but didn't touch it. Her hands were shaking again. "I'm Alira," she whispered, her voice barely there. I didn't want to die." Cole sat across from her. He didn't smile, but his eyes softened. "I'm Cole," he said. "I didn't want you to die either." She finally took the food bar, bit into it slowly. The taste was plain, dry, but to her, it felt like a feast. She hadn't eaten in days. After a few minutes, she looked around the shelter. "You're human," she said. "Aren't you supposed to hate my kind?" Cole leaned back and sighed. "Maybe," he said. "But I've seen too much to believe everything they say. War lies to everyone." Alira nodded slowly. She looked at her hands, dirty and bruised. "I used to be a scientist," she said. "I worked on healing tech, till I helped a human child. They called me a traitor. They threw me into that well to die." Cole listened, eyes steady. He didn't ask questions. He didn't judge. Finally, he spoke. "Well," he said, "I guess that makes two traitors in one room. I once gave a water filter to a starving alien kid. My own squad left me behind." The room went quiet. Only the heater buzzed. And for the first time in days, Alira felt something warm inside, not from the heater, but from Cole's words. He stood up, walked over to a locker, and pulled out a blanket. "You rest," he said, placing it on her. "You're safe here. At least for now." She looked up at him, eyes glassy but alive. "Why did you come near the well?" she asked softly. "Why were you even there?" Cole paused. "I heard something," he said. "A voice, maybe. Or a feeling. I don't know. But something told me to look." Alira's lips parted slightly. Maybe it was luck, maybe fate, or maybe the universe wasn't done with her yet. As she drifted to sleep under the blanket, Cole watched her from the workbench. He began cleaning one of his old weapons. His hands moved on habit, but his mind was elsewhere. Someone would come looking for her. He was sure of that. No one is thrown into a death hole unless they're a threat. He didn't know what she knew or why she mattered so much. But he knew one thing: now he couldn't let them take her back. Not after what she survived. Not after that voice he heard from the well. It wasn't just a cry for help. It was a cry meant for him. And for the first time in years, Cole felt something he had buried long ago: purpose. The night outside was cold and silent. Dust blew like mist over the dead streets of the ruined alien city. But deep inside Cole's underground shelter, Alira slept under a blanket of warmth and safety for the first time in days. Cole sat by the small heater, holding an old energy rifle in his hands. He kept checking the monitor near the door, watching, waiting, thinking. He didn't believe in luck. So when someone like Alira shows up, nearly dead in a forgotten well, he knows something bigger is going on. That night, he couldn't sleep. He just watched her. Her glowing skin was dim now. The light from her tribal patterns weak and fading, but her chest rose and fell slow, steady, alive. And that mattered more than anything. Hours passed, then beep, the motion sensor blinked. Red Cole jumped up and pressed a button. A tiny screen showed a shape outside. Not a creature, not a scavenger, a drone, a silent black disk, hovering low, scanning the area around the well. His heart sank. "They're looking for her," he whispered. He turned and shook Alira gently. "Wake up," he said. "We have to go." She blinked fast, confused. "What? Why?" "No time," he said, grabbing his pack and handing her a coat. "There's a drone outside, and if it saw anything, more will come." Alira tried to stand, but her legs gave out. Cole caught her before she hit the ground. "You're still too weak," he muttered. "I'll carry you." "No," she whispered, pushing his arm. "I can walk. Just help me." He nodded, wrapped her arm around his shoulder, and helped her step by step. Together, they left the shelter and moved into the dark. Cole led her through an old maintenance tunnel. It ran under the city like a secret river of steel and pipes. He knew every turn, every hole, every broken stair. Alira limped beside him, her breath short, her face pale. But she didn't stop. She had survived the well. She wouldn't give up now. Behind them, the sound of engines filled the air. A sharp buzzing grew louder. Cole turned and saw blue lights flashing through cracks in the tunnel wall. "Faster," he said, pulling her forward. "We're not far." They reached a rusty ladder at the end of the tunnel. Above it was a broken grate, and beyond that open wilderness. "I'll go first," he said, slinging the pack onto his back. Then he climbed, fast but careful. He kicked the grate open, peeked out. Nothing yet. "Your turn," he called softly. She nodded and began climbing, slow and shaky. Halfway up, her hand slipped and she gasped. Cole grabbed her arm and pulled her the rest of the way up. They landed in tall grass just outside the city border. The cold air hit them like a wall, but it was better than death. They didn't speak, just ran through the grass, over hills, past broken roads. Cole knew where to go. A backup shelter. Far from scanners, deep in the rocks, behind them, the drone zoomed past, scanning the ruins. But they were already gone. After what felt like hours, they reached a narrow cave mouth, hidden by boulders. Cole pulled her inside, lit a tiny lantern, and helped her sit down. Both of them were out of breath. His arms were sore, her legs were nearly useless. But they were alive. Cole unrolled 2 blankets, handed her another water bottle. "You did good," he said quietly. Alira leaned back against the rock wall. "I slowed you down," she whispered, ashamed. "You should have left me." He looked at her, confused. "Why would I do that?" "Because I'm not human," she said. "Because helping me puts you in danger." He shook his head slowly. "You don't get it, do you?" He said, "I heard your voice in that well, and something in me said, she matters. I don't know why, but it felt right." She stared at him, speechless. No one had ever said that to her before, not even her own kind. "Besides," he added with a tired smile, "you're lighter than most of my gear." A small laugh escaped her lips, the first one since she had fallen. For a moment, the fear faded. They were just 2 souls under the stars, running from the same enemy. She looked out at the night sky through a crack in the cave wall. "I used to dream of the stars," she said. "Now I just dream of staying alive." Cole rested back beside her. "Then we'll start with that," he said. "Staying alive," in the distance. More drones flew across the sky, but they didn't find them, not yet. The hunt had begun, but so had something else, something that couldn't be tracked, scanned, or caught. Trust, the cave gave them one night of peace, one night of warmth, silence, and hope. But Cole knew it wouldn't last. At sunrise, he checked the sky. Drones had pulled back for now, but the danger wasn't over. The alien regime never gave up once they marked someone. Alira was still weak. Her legs trembled, her breath shallow, but her eyes held strength now, the kind that came from being pulled back from death. "We have to move again," Cole said as he packed supplies. "I know a place safer than this cave." Hidden deep in the hills, Alira looked up. Another shelter. He shook his head. "Not just a shelter," he said. "It's a human rebel camp." Her eyes widened. "Rebels? They'll kill me." Cole paused, then replied, "They won't. Not if they trust me." Alira didn't answer. She didn't trust humans, not fully, but she trusted Cole, and that was enough for now. They began their journey through the forest. The trees were dry and crooked, like bones of a dying planet, but they offered cover, shade, and quiet. Cole helped her walk when her legs gave out. He gave her water, shared dry bread. He said little, but stayed close, always watching. After many hours, they reached a rocky hill with moss-covered stone. Cole knocked 3 times against a flat wall, then once more in a rhythm. A hidden scanner blinked red. A voice crackled from a speaker. "Who goes there?" "Cole," he replied, "with someone who needs help." There was a long pause. Then the wall shifted. A small entrance opened. Guns pointed out, metal, deadly, human. 3 guards stood behind them. Armor patched, eyes sharp. One woman stepped forward, scar on her cheek, cold stare. "You brought an alien here." Cole raised his hands. "She's not a soldier," he said. "She's a scientist. They tried to kill her. She has information valuable." The woman didn't lower her weapon. Lyra stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "I helped a human child once," she said. "That's why my people threw me into a well." The woman blinked. Her grip loosened slightly. "You're the one from the broadcast rumors," she whispered, "the traitor with healing tech." Alira nodded slowly. "I didn't betray my people," she said. "I betrayed their cruelty." The woman stared at her, then looked at Cole. "You better be right about this." She turned and signaled. "Let them in." The metal door opened wider. Cole helped Alira inside. Behind the walls was a hidden world, underground tunnels, lights powered by solar panels, humans working, cooking, cleaning weapons. The rebel camp was alive. Children ran between beds, old tech machines buzzed in corners. A map of the alien city blinked on a holographic table. Cole and Alira were taken to a side room. A medic scanned her, gave her clean bandages, and helped her eat real food. Alira sat quietly, watching the humans move, talk, and laugh. She had always been told they were monsters, thieves, killers. But here, they looked like survivors. Later that evening, the rebel leader entered the room. A tall man with a prosthetic arm and tired eyes. "I'm Rourke," he said. "I run this camp." Cole stood up and nodded. "She needs protection," he said. "And you need?" "Her knowledge." Rourke raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly do you know, alien girl?" Alira stood slowly, her voice calm but sharp. "I designed the first wave of neural dampeners your people fought against. I know how to shut them down." Rourke's face changed. He leaned closer, eyes serious. "Why would you help us?" "Because," she said, "I'm tired of pretending my people are innocent." Because your man culled me out of a grave, and because, maybe, just maybe, it's time someone did the right thing. Rourke stared at her, then nodded. We'll test what you say, but if you lie, I won't. She interrupted. That night, Alira sat by a small fire with Cole. They didn't speak for a long time. Then she turned to him and asked, "Why are you risking all this for me?" He looked at her, serious and honest. "Because when I looked down into that well, I didn't see an alien. I saw someone begging not to be forgotten." She lowered her head, her eyes shining with quiet emotion. "I was so close to giving up," she whispered, "if you hadn't come." He reached out and touched her shoulder gently. "But I did come," he said, "and you're still here." Outside the camp walls, night fell again, but this time, Alira wasn't alone in the dark. She was inside a camp full of humans, and beside her sat one man who had listened when no one else did. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like she belonged. The rebel camp buzzed with quiet energy. Machines hummed, boots echoed in tunnels, and whispers passed between soldiers, but deep underground, behind thick steel doors, Alira worked in silence. She sat at a dusty table, wires and screens spread. Around her, her fingers moved slowly but with purpose. Old tech, broken chips, half-dead tools, she turned them into something useful again. Cole watched from the corner, arms crossed. He didn't understand the science, but he saw the focus. In her eyes, the fire returning to her soul. She wasn't just healing herself. She was preparing for something. "Can it work?" he asked finally. Alira looked up, a faint smile on her lips. "It will," she said. "If we move fast." She had built a small device, no bigger than a hand. A signal disruptor. It could block the tracking frequencies used by alien drones and scouts, but only for a short time. They would need to strike fast, move smart, and stay ahead that same night. Rourke called a meeting in the command room. The rebels gathered, tired eyes, hungry faces, but full of fight. Alira stood before them, hands slightly shaking, but voice steady. "The regime is hunting me," she said, "and now they will come. For all of you, but I can help, if you let me." The room was quiet. Some stared at her with suspicion, others with curiosity. One young rebel stepped forward. "Why should we trust you?" he asked. "You're one of them." Cole stood beside her. "Because she had every reason to give up," he said, "but she chose to stand with us." Rourke nodded. "We move at dawn," he said. "We've been quiet too long, but dawn never came quietly before sunrise." A distant boom shook the ground. Sirens screamed through the tunnels. Cole grabbed his rifle. Alira grabbed the disruptor. Scanners picked up a signal burst, shouted a guard. Multiple heat signatures drones incoming. The camp went dark, switching to red emergency lights. Everyone moved fast, packing, sealing exits, prepping weapons. Cole turned to Alira. "We need to move now," he said. "If they found this place, it won't survive the hour." She nodded. And they ran together down a side corridor. Behind them, metal doors slammed shut. Sealing parts of the camp, the rebels split into two teams. Rourke led the fighters toward the outer tunnels. Cole and Alira took the back path toward the rocks and hills. Outside, the wind howled like a beast. The forest glowed with blue scanner lights. Drones moved like silent birds, sweeping trees and scanning footprints. Alira activated the disruptor. A low hum filled the air, and the lights on the drones blinked for a second. They moved slower, confused, but not for long. "Go," she said, her voice tight. "We have maybe 2 minutes." They ran through mud and roots. Ducking under fallen branches, Cole took the lead, watching for traps and sensors. Alira followed, heart pounding. She wasn't just escaping anymore, she was being hunted. Suddenly, dash crack. A blue pulse hit a tree nearby. One drone had locked on. Cole turned and fired 2 short bursts. The drone sparked and fell, burning in the leaves. But the noise was loud, too loud. "They'll all come now," Alira gasped. Cole grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the forest. "There's a river ahead," he said. "If we reach it, we can lose their trail." They ran until their legs screamed. Alira stumbled. Cole caught her again. Blood trickled from his side, grazed by a drone shot, but he didn't stop. They reached the river. Fast and dark, without a word, Cole jumped in, pulling her with him. The cold water shocked them, stole their breath, but it also carried them. Away, away from the lights, the fire, the death behind them. They washed up on the far bank, soaked, freezing, but alive. Cole groaned and sat against a rock. Alira crawled to him, saw the burn on his side. "You're hurt," she whispered. "Not." "Bad," he lied, wincing. "You okay?" She nodded, shivering, but her hands moved fast, pulling a small medkit from her belt. She cleaned the wound, wrapped it tight. "Looks like I saved you this time," she said softly. He chuckled. "About time." They stayed hidden under the roots of an old tree. The forest grew quiet again, but far away. Smoke rose into the morning sky. The rebel camp was gone. Alira looked at Cole, her voice low. "Do you think any of them made it?" He didn't answer, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know. All they had now was each other, and the hope that someone else might still be out there, waiting, listening. The hunt had begun, but the fire in their hearts burned brighter than ever. And this time, they would not run forever. They would stand. The forest was quiet again. But not the safe kind of quiet. It was the heavy silence after something terrible. Ash drifted in the wind. The rebel camp was gone. Burned, destroyed, buried, coal. And Alira moved slowly now, through trees, across cold rivers. Past shattered road signs and rusted towers, they didn't speak much. Words felt too small after so much loss. Cole's wound was worse than he admitted. He walked with a limp, his face pale, his breath sharp. But he kept moving because Alira needed him to. Alira noticed, of course. Every stumble, every wince, every time he stopped to tie his boot, she finally said it out loud. "You're not okay. I'll live," he replied. But he didn't. Sound sure, they found an old human transport truck crashed under vines. The back door opened with a creak. Inside were blankets, broken crates, and old ration packs. It was enough. They rested there that night. Alira worked by lantern light, mixing herbs she had gathered and using a small laser tool to clean Cole's wound. He flinched once, but stayed silent. "You didn't have to come back for me," she whispered while cleaning his skin. "You could have run. I told you." He said quietly, "I don't leave people behind." She looked at him closely. Even in pain, even dirty and tired, he had that same quiet strength. And now, something more trust. "You're not like the others," she said softly. "And I don't just mean humans." He smiled faintly. "And you're not like the others, either." They sat in silence for a while. The lantern flickered. Wind whistled outside through broken metal. Then Cole spoke again. "There's one place left," he said. "A mountain village where some rebels live. Off-grid. Will they help us?" Alira asked. He shrugged. "If they still trust me." They left early the next morning. Alira walked stronger now, supporting Cole instead. Each mile brought them closer to the snowy hills. The sky turned gray as they climbed higher. Snow fell lightly over stone paths and black trees. Finally, just before night, they saw smoke rising gently in the distance. Warm smoke from chimneys. The village was real, but it wasn't welcoming. As they stepped near the edge, a voice shouted, "Stop!" Right there. Figures stepped out from the trees, 3 humans with fur-lined jackets and rifles. One of them, a woman with red braids, pointed her weapon at Alira. "You brought an alien here." She snapped, after what just happened to Rourke's people.
Cool.
Raised a weak hand. "She's not the enemy," he said. "She saved my life." The woman narrowed her eyes, and how many humans died saving hers? Alira stepped forward, her voice calm but steady. "I'm not asking for shelter," she said, "just a chance to speak." The guards didn't lower their guns, but one of them, a younger man, leaned closer to the woman and whispered, "She looks like the one from the Rebel Files, the healer." After a long pause, red-haired woman lowered her weapon slowly. "All right," she said, "you've got one night. Talk to Elder Marin. If he says no, you leave by morning." They were taken to a stone house with wooden doors and warm light. Inside sat an older man with silver hair and dark eyes. He listened as Cole explained, then turned to Alira. "You have knowledge, we don't," he said. "But knowledge means little if hearts stay closed." She stepped forward and held up a small device. "I can shut down the drone's command." "Signals," she said. "I just need your network access and a few tools." Marin studied her. "You ask us to trust you," he said, "but will you trust us?" She nodded. "I have no one else." That night, they gave her tools, and she worked in silence. Cole rested near the fire, still hurting, still watching. In the early hours before dawn, a cry echoed through the village. A child had collapsed. Sick with fever, the villagers gathered, panicked, helpless. Alira rushed forward. "I can help," she said. The mother hesitated, but Marin nodded. "Let her." Alira knelt beside the child, scanned his vitals, and used her healing tech to cool his brain and restore hydration. Within minutes, the child's breathing calmed. His eyes opened, weak but alive. The mother wept. The villagers stared in shock. Marin stepped forward and put a hand on Alira's shoulder. "You've given us more than proof," he said. "You've given us a reason to hope again." Cole smiled from the bench, despite everything, the war, the pain, the walls between species. Something had changed, not just in the village, but in Alira too. She had made her choice, and the humans had made theirs. For the first time, they were no longer enemies, they were allies, and soon they would be more than that. The village was still asleep. Snow fell softly on rooftops, covering every path in a white, silent blanket. But inside a stone house near the hill's edge, lights flickered and screens glowed. Alira sat in front of a small terminal, her hands steady, her eyes clear. Beside her, Cole stood with his arm in a sling, still healing. Marin, the elder, watched quietly from the doorway. "You're sure this will work?" Cole asked. Alira nodded slowly. "I've tapped into the regime's emergency broadcast line," she said. "They use it for war alerts, but if I take control for just 30 seconds, I can reach every alien city on this continent." Marin stepped forward, his voice low. "What will you say, child?" Alira looked at him, then at Cole. Then she turned back to the screen. "I'll tell them the truth," she whispered. She pressed a button. The screen lit up red live signal, Ianja G. Her voice was shaky at first, but she forced it to be steady. Her words needed to cut through fear, through lies, through silence. "My name is Alira," she began. "I was a scientist in the capital. I believed in peace, in truth, in helping others until I helped a human child." She took a breath. "For that, I was punished. I was called a traitor, thrown into a filthy well, and left to die." Cole stood behind her, silent, listening. "I survived," she said, "because a human pulled me out. He didn't know who I was. He didn't ask questions. He just heard my cry and chose to help." Across the city's alien screens flickered to life. Shoppers stopped in their tracks. Children pointed. Soldiers froze. The face on the screen was dirty, tired but powerful. "You were lied to," she continued. "They told you humans are monsters. That kindness is weakness. That unity is betrayal. Her eyes burned now, full of quiet fire. They threw me away because I showed compassion. But I am still alive, and I am not alone, in one alien city. A guard lowered his weapon. In another, a teacher held her breath. Some turned away. Some listened, but all of them heard. I call on those who feel forgotten. Those who are tired of fear. Those who have seen too much silence. Stand up, not for war, not for revenge, but for truth behind her. The signal timer blinked. 5 seconds LFT. She leaned in one last time, because in the darkness of a forgotten well, one human heard me, and his choice changed everything. The screen went dark, signal lost. Alira leaned back slowly, her breath shaking. Silence filled the room. No one spoke. Then Marin walked forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did more than speak," he said. "You lit a fire." Later that day, Cole and Alira sat outside the village gate. Snow melted under the soft morning sun. The world felt different, lighter. "Waiting, you think they heard me?" she asked, her voice unsure. Cole looked at the sky. "They heard," he said. "The question is, who will answer?" That night, they got their answer. A group of travelers arrived, Dalians, some old, some young, scared, tired, but hopeful. They had seen the broadcast. They had left their homes. They came looking for Alira. More came the next day, and the next. A trickle became a stream. Not all were trusted right away. Some villagers still feared, but Alira greeted each person with open hands. And Cole stood beside her every time. Weeks passed, then months. The hidden village became a place of healing, of rebuilding. Old tech was restored. New schools opened where human and alien children sat side by side. Soldiers became farmers, scavengers became builders. Enemies became friends. Cole stayed through it all. He never said much, but Alira always smiled when he entered a room. She had been left to die in silence. Now her voice was a spark across the stars. One night, as they stood near the edge of the hill, Alira turned to Cole and whispered, "You didn't just save me. You gave me something I never had." "What's that?" he asked. She looked at him, eyes glowing soft blue. "A reason to live."